Hi, I'm Tyler, and welcome to another episode of my Christian Media Week reviews. Each week I take 5 releases, be it LCPs or singles, and after I'm listening to them all week, I come back here and I review them and I share what I think about them. So without further ado, let's get to this week's first release, Forrest Frank's new album, Child of God. So before I dive into my thoughts on Forrest Frank's new album, Child of God, let me just thank Jake for requesting the sound here. Now let's dive into the album itself here. So, pretty good album here. Stylistically, it's definitely a mix of R&B, pop, hip-hop, and some worship and contemporary elements too. Pretty upbeat overall here. And also there are some hard-hitting moments too. And a few ballad moments here as well. Vocally here, Forrest Frank raps. And as for the lyrics here, pretty good lyrics here. Forrest Frank talks about how he was hopeless in sin and loneliness until God, in his faithfully unconditional love and grace through the Lord Jesus' sacrificial death on the cross, drew Forrest to be free from that, to resurrect him through Jesus' resurrection to have a new life where he has a relationship with God as his child who peacefully trusts in God to be sovereignly good in all circumstances, to faithfully be with him, to sustain him, to follow God's leading in reaching this generation with music that talks about God reviving them from sin. Up next, Danny Gokey's new album, Sound of Heaven. Danny Gokey's new album, Sound of Heaven. Let's dive into it. So, pretty good album here. Stylistically, definitely sticks to Danny Gokey's signature pop contemporary sound, but with a twist. Danny Gokey throws in a few worship moments here on this album as well here. Mostly on the upbeat side of the equation, but a few ballad moments here as well. And as for the lyrics here, love the lyrics here. Danny Gokey talks about how when we feel hopeless and uncertain, hard times of waiting, we can keep joyfully praising God, that we can fearlessly trust our hope in Him, in His love through Jesus' sacrificial death and resurrection that revived us to have life, to be faithfully with us, to get us through the hard times and sovereignly restore them into something good. Up next, the reimagined version of Thousand Foot Krutch-'s 2012 album, The End Is Where We Began, Reignited. The reimagined version of Thousand Foot Krutch-'s album, The End Is Where We Began, Reignited. Let's dive into it. So, pretty good reimagined album here. Stylistically, sound-wise, the songs sound very similar, but what's different about the new versions is that Thousand Foot Krutch got other hard rock artists to sing along with them on these new versions. So let's go through the guest list, and I have to say, again, very good Reignited versions. We have James Michael of 6 a.m. singing on We Are, Icon for Hire on Light Up the Sky. I thought James Michael and Trevor sound pretty good together. Icon for Hire, I'm a huge Icon for Hire fan. I do have to say, though, truthfully, I like how Ariel of Icon for Hire sounded better in the chorus with the singing and the screaming. I thought her rapping could have been a little stronger, but that grew on me over time. The Funeral Portrait, lead singer, sounds pretty good on The End Is Where We Begin. Adam Gontier of Saint Asonia. He starts off a little rough on Let the Sparks Fly, but he gets better as the song goes on his guest appearance. Red's appearance on I Get Wicked. Michael Barnes sounds so good on this track. I mean, this actually sounds stylistically kind of like a Red song a little bit. And I like how Michael Barnes of Red snuck a little scream in there too. That was kind of cool. I think I Get Wicked might be my favorite reimagined version of all of them on this new album. Citizen Soldier sounds pretty good on Be Somebody, which this is kind of cool because I've been on a real Citizen Soldier kick lately. Ronnie Wood of the Rolling Stones does a good job playing guitar on the new version of Courtesy Call. And Cersina singing on Courtesy Call, definitely a little bit of surprise, but I like how she got a deeper voice and sounds really good. Addie Ways Way does a good job on War of Change. New Medicine does a good job singing and rapping on Down. Eva Under Fire does a good job on All I Need to Know. Gray Lee does a good job singing on the Reignited version of Fly on the Wall. Unsecret produces that, but I think it sounds pretty much the same as the original, to be honest, so I can't really comment on how Unsecret did on that track. Art of Dying definitely brings a little bit of raw emotion on So Far Gone. And then Kofor definitely changed up Courtesy Call a little bit to be more of an electronic alternative rock. Kind of upbeat still, but also kind of a ballad too. Stylistically, this album overall definitely leans on the hard rock side of things, with some rap hard rock moments. There are straight ballads, rock ballads on here as well. Vocal we hear mostly singing vocals, but we do hear some raps and screams too. And as for the lyrics here, love the lyrics here. Really give a good picture of the Christian life here on this album. And as for the lyrics here, 1,000 Foot Krutch talks about fearlessly trusting our faith in Jesus to revive us, to victoriously fight to be free from our destructive sinful past, to live new lives where we follow Him by authentically reflecting His love in the midst of opposition, even in hard times of doubt, that we peacefully trust God to restore us from. Up next, Pat Barrett's new album, Happily Hidden. Pat Barrett's new album, Happily Hidden. Let's dive into it. So, kind of a fun fact about this album is that every single song, Pat Barrett has a featured guest on it. On Daily Bread, he has Carrie Job. Loved, he has Cecily. Prayer for Today, he has Mac Brock. Trust You in All Things, he has Tim Hughes. You Know What I Mean, he has Josh Baldwin. Knowing You, he has Stephanie Gretzinger. And Happily Hidden, Pat has John Mark McMillan. Now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about the album itself here. So, on first listen, I like the features. I like the sound of the album. But Pat Barrett's vocals on this album took a little bit for me to get used to. That's just my take though. But I think that changed as I listened to this album more. Stylistically, definitely a collection of worship ballads that contain contemporary, alternative, and folk influence. And as for the lyrics here, pretty good lyrics here. Pat Barrett talks about how in hard times of anxiety, the Lord Jesus draws us to surrender our lives, to trust Him, to faithfully provide His presence that frees us from anxiety, to have joy and strength, to reflect His unconditional love that saves us from sin. Up next, last week for today, Ty Brazel's new album, Titanium. Ty Brazel's new album, Titanium. Let's dive into it. So, pretty good album here. Stylistically, definitely a lo-fi hip-hop album with some R&B and pop influence. Actually, the sound goes pretty hard for a lo-fi project, I would say. There's definitely at least one point in most of the songs that feels like goes pretty hard. Still. There are two ballads, though. The interlude, Forged in Fire, and Lift Me Up. Vocally here, Ty Brazel focuses mostly on rapping and singing, but there is some straight up rapping on this album as well, particularly in the earlier songs. There's also some vocal samples at play here as well. And as for the lyrics here, pretty good lyrics here. Like how Ty talks about God freeing him from pain, but also using the pain to make Ty stronger. And as for the lyrics here, Ty Brasel talks about how the pain of his past trauma taught him to surrender his life to God, to, through the cross, change Ty free from that and his sin, to victoriously live his purpose of following God's leading and reflecting Him through music. Well, that's it for this week. Come back next week for 5 more releases. If you like what you saw in this video, please subscribe. I put out videos every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Also, if you have any thoughts on today's releases or what I may have said about them, let me know down in the comments below. Also in the comments, you can let me know if there's any awesome releases that came out today that you want to see in next week's video. Also, check out the playlist section for the most streamed playlists available here on YouTube and also on Spotify. And this month's edition of the playlist, which came out just yesterday, features songs from artists like 1K View, What Up RG, Stars Go Down, Austin French, and others. So go and check it out if you're interested. Well, go now. See you next week. Bye!